Hello guys, this is Recaps Now here. Today I will explain the Netflix series Clickbait Part 1. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The episode starts with the birthday celebrations of a lady named Andrea Brewer. All the members of her family have come to celebrate her big day. Her children Nick, Pia, and her daughter-in-law Sophie get a gift for Andrea for her birthday. Pia feels disappointed at Sophie for getting Andrea a planter, as Pia had asked Sophie to get a bread maker for Andrea. Pia passes rude comments aimed at Sophie and calls her ideas lame. Nick sees this and it makes Nick angry, and she asks Pia to leave at once as she had disrespected Sophie. Nick and Sophie were parents to two boys named Ethan and Kai. The boys are frightened to see the adults fight. Pia is embarrassed by the event and she goes to a club. At the club, she drinks a lot and dances in a wild manner to forget what happened earlier. After a while, she goes to the washroom and messages a man called Woody whom she met on a dating app. She texts him to meet her but mistakenly drops her cell phone in the washroom while getting up to flush. Next, she comes to her house and puts the phone in rice so that it would soak up the water and dry out and start functioning again. The next day, she drives herself to the hospital where she was employed as a nurse. She is helping a patient who shows her funny and interesting videos online to distract himself. In a video, we see Nick is holding a card that reads, "I abuse women." Next, he shows another card that reads, "At 5 million views I die." It looks as if he had been beaten and was frightened, indicating that someone is forcing him to hold up the cards. This terrifies Pia and she does not understand what was happening. Then she runs to the phone and tries to call Nick, but the call is transferred directly to the voicemail. Next, she calls up Sophie, but she also does not answer the call. Pia panics and she goes to Nick's office. Once in the office, she asks Nick's colleague Matt about Nick. Matt tells her that he had not seen Nick since that morning. Then Pia shows the video to him, and a worried Matt then inquires with Dawn if she had seen Nick. They discover that he missed his scheduled 8 a.m. meeting and had not come till now. This causes Pia to worry even more, and she goes to the school where Sophie worked in a hurry. The guards try to stop her, but she barges inside and does not listen to the guards. After this, Sophie also sees the video and is as surprised and shocked as Pia. Sophie says that the video does not make any sense as Nick left for work like any other normal day. The ladies then go to the police station and file a missing complaint. While they were on the way to the police station, Nick's video racks up to 9,000 views and continues to grow at lightning speed. The case is being looked after by a detective named Roshan Amiri. He asks them many questions concerning Nick and mainly emphasizes the part where Nick mentions his habit of torturing women. Sophie answers all the questions patiently, but Pia feels irritated by the questions. It seems as if Pia and Roshan knew each other beforehand but do not let anyone know about it. Meanwhile, Sophie gets a call from her older son Ethan and goes back home. The boys are very much disturbed upon seeing the video of their father. Ethan is seen searching the Find My Family app on his tab to trace Nick's whereabouts. But the app is unable to trace the location of Nick as his cell phone was switched off. On the other hand, the video has racked up 3,000 views already within a span of a few hours. All the people commenting on the video term Nick as a monster. Sophie forbids the children from further viewing the video, and she also tells them to skip school for now. When Pia returns home, she finds her phone was finally working again. She discovers a voice message from Nick in which he asks for forgiveness from Pia for his behavior at the fight the previous day. He also mentions that there were things about which he needed to talk to Pia. Pia plays the voicemail on repeat while driving to meet her mother. Andrea is at her house. Then she asks Andrea if she had talked to Nick that day or not, but Andrea tells her that she had not had any communication with Nick on that day. Pia refrains from informing Andrea about the situation so that she would not panic. At that moment, she receives a message from Sophie who asks her to come to the police station urgently. At the police station, they discover that another video featuring Nick had been uploaded on the website. In the new video, he claims that he had killed a woman and holds a card stating, "I have killed a woman." Now, the case had turned into a homicide, so another officer named Detective Zach DeLuca is added to the investigation team. Pia recognizes the first two signs immediately after seeing the video and says that it was written by Nick. But the third one was written by someone else. Luca feels that the video was not only a video but maybe a confession in itself. He then questions the women if Nick tended towards violence. A furious Sophie tells him that Nick will not hurt anyone, be it a man or a woman. Pia also protests and says that Nick is the victim and they must act before the video reaches 5 million views. After leaving the police station, Pia shows the voice message sent by Nick to Sophie and asks if she should show it to the police. But Sophie is not willing to show it, as in the video Nick sounded sorry and it would not help their cause, as the police already suspected Nick to be a murderer. While they talk, a journalist calls Sophie and wants to interview her. The ladies get even more nervous by the call and panic strikes them. The video now has more than 1.5 million views. We see a nervous Pia visits her computer prodigy friend Vince and asks him to somehow find Nick's location. Vince tells her it was out of his grasp to trace the location of Vince, but he says that he had created support in which people from around the globe were investigating the case and thus helping to find Nick. Pia, however, does not believe that a simple website could find her brother, but still is grateful for the help. Next, she goes towards Nick's house and is met with a reporter who approaches her while she is outside the house. Pia shouts at the reporter to stay away from the private property and goes inside. We see an unhappy Andrea who questions Pia about hiding Nick's disappearance from her. Pia apologizes to her mother and checks on Ethan, who looked calm and was playing a game even in such a crisis. When Pia returns to her house, she finds the video had gained popularity and crossed more than 3 million views and was very popular. All of a sudden, her friend Vince, who is a hacker, comes to her with vital information. He says the members of the support have discovered that the video was taken in a special van by analyzing symbols that were in the background. Pia shows her gratitude to Vince and takes the evidence to the police. The police begin the search for the van using the traffic camera while Pia and Matt wait outside. After some time, she checks the website and discovers that the video had reached 5 million views. At this moment, Roshan and his team come and inform them that the van had been found. Everyone rushes to the location accompanied by a SWAT team in a hurry to find that the van was empty. They conduct a complete search of the area but find nothing and conclude that Nick was not in the van when it was sent. Meanwhile, at the police station, Luca assigns tasks to all the officers except for Roshan, as he was from the homicide department and was no longer required in the case. Roshan protests the decision and is told by Luca to take Sophie home. Sophie is mobbed by the reporters outside the house. Roshan takes her inside and finds that the house is being searched for evidence. Several police officials were spread across to find any sort of clue that may be vital in solving the case. Sophie is asked by the children if Nick had been found. To this, Sophie assures them that Nick would be back soon. Here, Luca enters the house and seizes everyone's phones to collect data that might help solve the case. The family is doubtful about the process and says that they are being suspected. Everyone except Pia surrenders their phone. Pia says that her one was at her house as it was broken. In the middle of the investigation, Pia goes out for a smoke. Roshan follows her and it is revealed that they have been talking to each other through a dating app for quite a while. It turns out that she was planning to meet Roshan before her phone dropped inside the loo. She asks him to keep her posted about the developments in the case, to which Roshan says that he had been removed from the case as he was from the missing person department. He advises Pia to request the surgeon to put him back on. Pia agrees to it. Later, we see Roshan searching the house when he observes Ethan sitting in his room with a tablet. It was his father's tablet that was left unused. Roshan still asks for it to check for any evidence, but Ethan refuses and says that he needed to keep the tab with him to monitor the search. He elaborates that Nick's case was so popular that people established an app called geocaching for his search. In the app, people go to the areas where Nick could be found and search. Ethan mentions the areas that had been searched are marked red. This fascinates Roshan, who takes the tablet with him and goes to the police station and shows it to Surgeon. But she does not agree to let civilians into the investigation. Roshan shows her texts from Nick's phone where he mentions a big fight between his parents. As Roshan comes out of the sergeant's office, Luca authoritatively asks him to leave. Roshan then goes to a place that had not been searched by geocaching. He sees 2 kids were trying to locate Nick's body, but in vain. He then visits the mosque followed by his house. where we see that his parents were very proud of him as he was part of such a huge case. They ask him about his promotion to the homicide department, but he declines to answer the question. The next morning, Sophie does a press conference and requests Nick's kidnappers not to harm Nick in any way. After this, Pia asks Roshan to meet her in the car. She shows him the voice message that Nick had left for her before he was kidnapped. Roshan is angry at Pia for not handing them the evidence earlier. In her defense, Pia says that they could search her phone now. He asks what was the issue Nick wanted to talk to her about. Pia says she had no idea of what it was. After this, Roshan meets the sergeant and tells her about the new information. Here Roshan also informs the sergeant about his relationship with Pia before Nick disappeared. Then goes to his desk and finds his pictures from the dating app all over the station. Luca laughs at Roshan for this. An angry Roshan blames him for discriminating against him for his religion. Luca blames Roshan and says he was not a team man and was using the case as a means of promotion. The following day, Nick's bike is spotted beside a lonely road. On hearing this, the police quickly arrive and continue the investigation. After a short while, they find an empty syringe closely. The police assume that the syringe was used to kidnap Nick. After the investigation, Roshan visits Sophie's house and is greeted by her mother, Ruby. Roshan informs the family members that Nick's bike has been found and wants to talk to Sophie in private. He questions Sophie about Nick's voicemail to Pia, and she tells him about the fight the siblings had on Andrea's birthday. That is to say, the night before he disappeared. Next, Roshan is seen inquiring if everything was alright or not in their marriage before the incident. Sophie feels uneasy at the question and says that the incident was not connected to their marital situation in any way. Roshan is surprised and gets suspicions and asks her point blank if she knows anything about where her husband was. Sophie gives him a look of astonishment and asks him to leave the house. Then he visits Pia's house and sees her looking at the geocaching app. He then questions her about the fight she had with Nick and is dismissed by Pia. Here she reveals that she and Nick were close to each other and that Nick had been acting oddly for a few months. When Pia called him out, they fought. Here, she also reveals that on 16th March he came to her with bruises and requested her to hide them from Sophie. While they were talking, the geocaching app shows that Nick's body had been found. Both of them reach the location of the body quickly, but on closer inspection find that it was a mannequin, only that had Nick's face pasted on it. After this, Roshan drops Pia at her apartment. We see that Nick's friend Matt was waiting for her outside the apartment. The duo of Matt and Pia go inside while Roshan drives away. At night, Roshan uses the Find My Fam app to locate where Nick was on 16th March. He discovers that Nick was at a bar that day and visits the bar's owner the next morning. He observes the CCTV footage that showed that Matt had got into a brawl with a stranger that day. Next, he calls Pia to the police station and shows her the video of the fight. Pia is relieved that they found a lead to solve the case, and she thanks Roshan for it and for working tirelessly on the case. After Pia departs, Roshan shares the idea of the geocaching machine with Luca, who does not give that much importance at first but still agreed to go on a search to unearth the mystery. While on the search, they end up at a woods situated beside an abandoned road. There they find Nick's dead body, which had started to rot and decay in the nearby river. In the next scene, Roshan visits Pia's apartment and informs her that Nick's dead body had been found. Although Pia had sensed something like this, still she breaks down in tears on the floor mourning her brother's death. The next day, Roshan receives a warm welcome from his colleagues and is promoted to the homicide department by the sergeant and is appreciated for his good work by everyone, including Luca. After this, he helps his coworkers in searching through Sophie's social media accounts. While working, he sees a picture of Sophie with the man who had got into a fight with Nick in the pub. Roshan is surprised and rechecks and confirms that both the guys were the same person. Next, we see Sophie comes to the police station and Roshan informs her about her husband's death. Sophie freezes on hearing the devastating news and asks the detective how he had died. Luca informs that he suffered head trauma, but the actual reason was not yet confirmed. We see that she sheds a tear for Nick and asks about who the culprit was. Next, Luca shows him the video of the fight between Nick and the other man and questions her if she knew the other man. Surprisingly enough, she lies to them and says she did not know the man. After this, the officers show her a picture of her with the unknown man. We see Sophie finally confess that she knew the man and his name was Curtis Hamilton, and that the man was her former coworker. She also says that they were only friends. But the detectives find it hard to believe her after her first lie. After this, she returns home and informs her kids that their father was not going to return home. Everyone bursts into tears, mourning the death of Nick. Then we see Pia is at the police station and demands Roshan to let her see her brother's dead body. But she is not allowed to see the body until the postmortem takes place. The scene then shifts to Sophie's house, where she reveals to her mother that she had been questioned by the police about Curtis and that she referred to him as a friend to them. We see a look of disbelief on her mother as she looks at Sophie on hearing this. It is quite obvious that something was going on between Curtis and Sophie. Sophie is seen crying and says that if Curtis was the killer of Nick, then it will all be her fault. While they are talking, Pia comes and asks if she could stay the night. Sophie welcomes her but does not tell her anything about Curtis. Then we see a flashback from Nick and Sophie's previous anniversary. They had a party which they enjoyed a lot. After the party, she receives a message from Curtis in which he wrote that he could not stop thinking of her. We see Sophie's behavior changes after this, and that night she confesses to Nick about her affair with Curtis that was 3 months long. In the present, we see that Sophie secretly goes to meet Curtis at night. Curtis is shocked to see her but invites her inside. He acknowledges everything happening in Sophie's life and inquires if she is fine. Sophie questions him back why he met Nick without telling her about it. Curtis says that it was Nick who suddenly texted him and wanted to meet at the bar. Curtis says that Nick wanted to know everything about the affair and how Curtis and Sophie met, who was interested first, etc. He also claims that, after the conversation, Nick attacked him first, but Sophie is suspicious of him and does not believe it. As they are talking, the police knock on the door and arrest Curtis. It so happened that the police had been following Sophie after she lied about her relationship previously. Both Curtis and Sophie are then taken into police custody as suspects of Nick's murder.